San, Su, Wu, Leo, Ji, Ba, Jo, Shu. What's that?
Welcome to the Web Marketing Show, a podcast hosted by Randy Thornton. Learn how she approaches today's internet marketing challenges with straightforward, strategic web marketing guidance for businesses and industries of all sizes. Sit back, relax, and listen as Randy shares systems, tools, advice, trends, technologies, and how-tos about everything related to productive web marketing. Because time does matter, let's get started. Here's Randy.
Hello, I'm Randy, and welcome to the Web Marketing Show podcast, episode number 8, titled Web Marketing Tips. In the past, I've really enjoyed giving you a definition of a word and then giving you the word at the end of the podcast. Well, today I decided to have a little fun. I'm sure that you could tell that wasn't a definition that I did in the beginning of this podcast, but in fact, I counted 1 through 10 in Mandarin. My grandson, who is almost 7, goes to a Mandarin immersion school and has been teaching me Mandarin. So I thought it'd be fun to share that with you. Okay, let's jump right into today's topic. We've got a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited to share this web marketing conversation with you because I think it's one that's often not discussed. And I know you're probably thinking, why do I even need to know or care about web hosting? Or perhaps you're thinking, what is web hosting? These are all valid questions, and understanding both the what and the why can have a tremendous impact on your online revenues. I want you to have the knowledge to be able to make informed decisions about a web marketing topic that is often ignored. But first, today's podcast is sponsored by WPWBB.com, which stands for WordPress Website Builder Bundle.com, a SEO-friendly website platform that utilizes superior hosting services and is a service offered by me. More on this later. Today, I don't think it's a surprise that web marketing, SEO, and search engine optimization rules and best practices constantly change. At the end of the day, we all want to do everything in our power to maximize our business profits from our online marketing efforts. When I'm doing this podcast, I've got the webmarketingshow.com. I want to make sure that my website is optimized so it has the best opportunity to reach as many people as possible that are interested in learning about web marketing and learning and listening to the tips that I share. Well, today we're going to discuss web hosting tips. Tips of the trade, so you can use this information to gain an advantage over your online competitors, as well as provide a better user experience for your visitors. This is a hot topic, and I'm excited to share this information with you. So let's just jump right in. Let's start with the basics. What is web hosting? Every website on the World Wide Web has web hosting. When your website was built, you might have been very involved in the decision of the selection of the web hosting provider you use today, or the one that was chosen, or perhaps somebody else made this decision for you. When I develop websites for my clients, web hosting is included in the monthly plan, and my clients' websites are hosted by a provider chosen by myself. So you might be in the same situation where you pay a monthly website maintenance hosting plan fee, and that includes hosting. So you may not have any clue who hosts your website. And you're going to learn why it's important to know who hosts your website, or at least if you don't know the name of the provider, that the hosting service is of quality and is adding value to your website marketing efforts. I looked on Wikipedia, and according to Wikipedia, this is what they say a web hosting service is. A web hosting service is a type of internet hosting service that allows individuals or organizations to make their website accessible via the World Wide Web. Web hosts are companies that provide space on a server owned or leased for use by clients, as well as providing internet connectivity, typically in a data center. Okay, what does that all mean? In other words, web hosting is a service that enables your website to appear on the internet. Think of your website as a bunch of files and folders, and it's the web hosting service that connects these files and folders via the internet so your website can be viewed online. We don't need to get all technical about hosting, and trust me, it can be very technical. But you do need to know the very basics to comprehend the importance behind web hosting and the hosting that your website is utilizing. Although I don't know much about cars other than what I like and what I don't like, I do know that the vehicle's engine is very important. The engine determines how fast the car can go, how quickly it can accelerate, the durability, and the overall expected performance of the vehicle. Yes, we buy cars, but it's the engine that determines if the vehicle will run at top peak performance. So think of your web hosting provider as the engine for your website. Now that you know your website has web hosting, today I want to provide you with tips and advice to ensure your web hosting service provider is actually helping your internet marketing and not harming it. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. Here's the cold hard facts. The scope of web hosting services vary greatly. And I'm going to break down the number one most important feature to consider and how you can tell whether your hosting provider rates well or not. Personally, I manage and maintain over 20 plus websites at any given time. I'm responsible for these websites. Therefore, I use several different website hosting service providers. I do this so that I can monitor their performance, and I never get stuck without a reliable hosting solution. Actually, I just moved 2 client websites yesterday to a new hosting service provider because some of the things I'm going to share with you today weren't acceptable. They weren't acceptable, and I felt the hosting providers weren't performing at a level that I expected them to be performing at. So what is the number one consideration or feature that you should be most concerned about when considering or rating your website host provider? Well, it's all about speed and performance. In my opinion, speed and the overall performance of your website is the number one correlation directly impacted by the hosting provider you choose or the one that you use. When I mention speed, what I mean is how long it takes a page or any page on your website to load when somebody lands on it. And when I refer to web performance, I am referring to the overall performance of the website. There's a few things that can directly impact how quickly a website will load or its performance, how fast it is. And one of those is file size. Earlier, I mentioned a website is made up of files and folders. And in these files and folders are things such as images, videos, PDFs, coding, etc. Everything that makes up a visual website. The more things you have in these files and folders, the more sluggish your website can be. And the bigger the items in these files and folders, the more sluggish it can be and can affect the impact of the load time or the speed of the website. Think about an image, for instance. An image can look similar, but depending on the quality of image, the size of that image can greatly. And the larger the size, the larger or the more resources it takes to load that image when somebody visits your website. So it's the size and the amount of things or different digital media that is contained within these folders that make up your website that can ultimately affect the speed of your website. Let's say, for instance, you have a website that has 3 pages. It has no images. You don't have any videos, no digital media. It's just a pretty generic website with some content on it. If that's the case, your web hosting provider probably could be almost anybody. There's not a lot that needs to be hosted. Therefore, the speed at which it loads and the overall performance should be acceptable, I would think, almost anywhere. But in reality and in today's world, if you did have a 3-page website, it's not going to gain enough Google authority to achieve much successful online marketing goodness and love that we all want to gain. So the size of the files that reside on your website will affect the speed and can affect the performance. The number of visitors is another factor that can determine the speed and performance of your website. If a website has 5 people on it at the same time, or if it has 5,000 or 500,000 people on it at the same time, each time somebody is on a website, it takes more resources from the host to generate the website and keep it performing at peak performance. So the number of visitors that a website has can also affect the speed and overall performance of the website. Another major feature that website hosting can affect is the downtime. Have you ever visited a website and it's just been down? Well, no host can guarantee that a website's going to be up 100% of the time. In fact, I don't think that perhaps there is a web host that is up 100% of the time. But trust me, some go down more than others. And you can imagine how your business can be affected if someone visits your website and gets an error page, or a visitor is watching a video or reading more about your services and all of a sudden the page disappears. That's not very good. From a hosting perspective, the 3 things that probably matter the most when you're looking at speed and you're looking at performance is, number 1, the number of files that you have that make up your website. The size of those files, in other words, are there a lot of videos? Are there images? What's contained within those files? And the number of visitors, the number of people that are on your website at one given time. And last but not least, how often your website goes down, or how often your host goes down, thus your website goes down. All of these things matter when we talk about hosting. It's your host, it's the bandwidth, it's the resources, it's the configuration, it's the structure, it's all of this that determines what happens or how fast or how your performance may lack when you have larger sites, when you have more visitors, etc. It is how your website hosting provider functions and is set up that determines what happens when you add things to your website, such as uploading a new video or adding a slideshow or attaching a PDF or making a new page. I remember reading not so terribly long ago that Steve Jobs was obsessed with speed when he was developing the iPhone. He knew that every fraction of a second that he could reduce the load time would make a remarkable difference in the user experience. And I think we can all say with much confidence that the iPhone does offer a great experience. Okay, so now we've looked at some of the common features that can affect your website speed and performance ultimately controlled by the way your website host or website host provider is set up. Now let's go on and talk about another reason why the website host provider you choose is so important. You hear me reference Google often. I do this because I believe if you keep Google happy, you will be happy with your web marketing. Here's a direct quote from Google. High-performance websites lead to higher visitor engagement, retention, and conversations. It would be foolish for us to think that if Google tells us our website performance is so important that it affects visitor engagement, retention, and conversations, you can bet it also affects your web search rankings. Yes, website speed is now an important factor that does impact SEO or search engine optimization. So you might be wondering, why does Google care how fast my website loads? Well, Google understands that people are impatient. People get frustrated when they land on a website that takes more than a few seconds to load. Because Google's main objective is to provide the very best results when someone searches on Google, Google cares greatly about web load time and speed. In fact, in 2010, Google did something pretty different. Google actually announced that website speed would begin having an impact on search rankings. Yes, who hosts your website impacts your search rankings on Google. Now, I told you this was going to be an important topic. I'm going to provide a link at webmarketingshow.com/8 to the page on Google that discusses how to analyze and optimize your website's page speed and performance. Although this page is packed with helpful information, it really was written for developers and therefore pretty technical and maybe difficult to understand. So I'm going to have some other web hosting review tools for you to use, and we're going to discuss a little bit later. And go to webmarketingshow.com/8 to get access to these free website speed and performance tools. I mentioned that today's sponsor is WPWBB.com. It is a website that you can go to and actually build a website for your business. It's a platform developed by myself, and it's a platform that takes into consideration website hosting, and it's all set up for you. So you don't have to worry about hosting. You don't have to worry about all of the things that go into making a SEO-friendly, well-optimized, well-performing website. So that's my selfish plug for today's episode. And enough of that, let's get on to today's topic, web hosting tips. But right now, I've got some startling web hosting facts that I think will also bring to light and help you understand the importance behind your web host, because your web host does affect the speed and performance of your website. This is my startling web hosting fact number 1. According to Amazon, for every 1 second delay, conversations or sales dropped by 7%. That's a $2.5 million loss per year if your website sells, let's say, $100,000 of revenue, or you have $100,000 of sales revenue from your website each day. Annually, that would be a $2.5 million loss for a 1 second load time delay. That would be a $2.5 million loss annually each time it took your website 1 additional second to load. That's significant. Aberdeen research confirmed that 1 second delays can increase conversations by 7%. And when we're referring to conversations or online website conversations, we're talking about a transaction. We're talking about an action that a visitor takes. And these actions then directly have an impact on sales. Forrester Research has revealed that the greater part of the customers expect a page to load in a maximum of 2 seconds. And they're also saying if this is not the case with your website, then you can expect as much as 50% of your visitors to leave the page. Gomez and Extension research found that up to 75% of the consumers are okay with the fact that they would leave for your competitor's website due to slow website performance during peak traffic. These are startling web hosting facts. Every fraction of every second that it takes your website to load has a big impact on your website's ability to convert and have additional conversations with your online visitors, as well as SEO, as we just talked about. So I guess the next logical question is, how fast does your website need to be? Well, Google's certainly not going to tell us, and there are no hard facts about this. But what I can tell you is this: your website needs to be faster and run at a maximum performance better than any of your other online competitors. Really, that's the measure that I would use. Fractions of seconds matter today in this crazy online marketing world. But I can tell you that cutting even a fraction of a second, and my goodness, if you got down a second or 2 seconds, 3 seconds, even more, is going to have a significant impact on your visitors' experience. Thus, they're going to stay around. Thus, they're going to get to know you better. You've got a chance to engage with them, and they have a chance to get to know you better, whether that be a sale or just learning about your services or products. And it's certainly going to make a difference with your search rankings. I have got at the end of the show notes at webmarketingshow.com/8, I list 3 highly respected tools that you can use to determine how fast your website loads. You can see down by the fraction of the second and test out all 3 of these tools. They're free to use. One word of advice: don't think about your load time when you're visiting your website from your computer. Your website is cached, which means that it's not loading as if you were a first-time visitor. These tools will go to your website and they will tell you exactly what somebody else that's never visited your website experiences. Oftentimes people think, well, my website loads real fast. I'm on it every day. Well, that's not going to be the similar situation that a first-time visitor is going to have. So you need to really take that into consideration. I also found a really fun tool that estimates potential revenue loss or gains by the load time or the speed time of your website. So I've got that link too at webmarketingshow.com/8. Well, we just scratched the surface about this often not discussed web marketing topic. I believe if your website loads fast and does not experience frequent downtime, you're in a pretty good position. If not, it's imperative that you take action. Switching to a different hosting company can be overwhelming, but certainly staying with a bad web host or a bad hosting service provider can be worse for your business than making the change and going through the hassle it is to convert over to a new web host. And I'm really always here to help. If you're not sure if your website's fast enough, if you've got questions about the results of the tools that I have on the webmarketingshow.com/8, contact me. I'm here to help. And I want to just make sure that you've got a lightning fast web hosting provider. Well, next time on the Web Marketing Show, we're going to talk about how much should you pay for an SEO-friendly website. Because WPWBB.com is a platform that develops SEO-friendly websites for customers, I'm often asked about the cost of an SEO-friendly website. So I'm just going to break it down. We're going to talk about numbers, and you can learn what you should expect to pay. You'll find out if you're paying too much or maybe getting a good bargain. Make sure that you take action. Make sure you visit webmarketingshow.com/8 and scroll down to the bottom where I've got a list of the free resources for you to go check the website performance and speed of your web hosting provider. Until next time, bye-bye.
This concludes this episode of the Web Marketing Show. If you need help or have questions or comments for Randy, please visit www.webmarketingshow.com. Be sure to listen to her next podcast show so you stay current with everything related to effective web marketing. And remember to take action today, because every day that slips by without taking action is one day further away from becoming a winning day.